You're watching Next Pitch, the student-athlete playbook for parents raising tomorrow's athletes.
Anthony Leverett here, host of the Next Pitch podcast, and one of my favorite times of the week, we get Dusty Hera in here for our Weekly Sports D&A. Dusty, thank you for joining me. We're talking off air here, and between you and Jason reminding me of why I'm so glad that I'm not coaching anymore. The travel and being just listening to Jason's itineraries, like looking at a roadmap. But you actually got a weekend this weekend. You're talking about, man, first weekend in how long?
Well, Oregon had a bye week a couple of weeks ago, but that didn't stop me from being busy. But to have a Saturday and a Sunday off where I'm able to just sit and not do anything, it was great. It was great. All we had is my daughter is in the soccer state tournament. And so we had a game on Saturday and a game on Sunday. Other than that, just being at home, man, I forgot what that felt like. It was great.
Yeah, I used to get. It's weird when you're so busy and you travel so much and you're tied to that calendar and the next game, right? It's always what's the next game of getting prepped as a coach, and it's very similar for people who are covering sports. I'm finding that out more and more the more I'm around you guys. But you get twitchy, like when oh God, I'm missing. So this doesn't feel right. I'm sitting on my couch. What am I missing? What am I missing? It's really hard to be present.
It is very hard. Everybody kind of goes through this and that. No matter what you do for work, you bring it home as much as you try not to.
Yeah.
And for every athlete, it is like for me, it's late for practice, right? You have that nightmare where you're late for practice, and I still have those dreams. And I wake up and I'm like, dude, you have no practice to be at. What are you talking about? You're late for practice, but they forgot my helmet at practice, and you're sitting there and you have that nightmare just not being prepared. Still have it. It's just different. It's different. Yeah. I should be somewhere doing something, and I'm not sure where it is.
Yeah, and that late thing, that's an interesting conversation, right? I told my players over and over again, lied to them. I didn't know I was lying to them, and I've apologized since. But the reason we have this on-time policy is that once you get into corporate America, if you're not on time to a meeting, you're just not going to make it. You're going to get fired. You're going to get let go. You're going to have a bad reputation. And then I get out of coaching, get into corporate America. Do you know how, including this show, we were supposed to start at, no one's going to know what time we did this, but we're supposed to start at 9:30, and we didn't start on time, right?
That's right.
Just like 99% of the meetings that I've been involved in, I'm always early or on time, or almost always early and on time. And it's not, we lie to our players all the time.
Yeah. But being there and on time is something that everybody should want to do and strive for.
We should. It doesn't always happen. All right. So let's talk about the college football weekend to start again, man. I tell you what, it is. Well, first of all, I'm down on Duke's program. I was rooting for Duke big time to create major chaos. I think they're still going to have chaos happen, but that would have been fantastic had it been their run through to get to the playoffs. But what was the big takeaway in the Big Ten this weekend? Obviously, some huge games coming up in that league. What was the big takeaway between the power schools that you see as players?
Yeah, I think that what we've seen this, and we knew heading into the season that we thought it was 4 that were kind of a cut above everybody else. And after Penn State kind of unraveled, we know that it's only 3. And there is a clear separation between number 1, Ohio State, and number 2, Indiana, and then number 3, Oregon. Just the way that the Indiana-Oregon game played out in October, there's still so much football to be played. And I think one thing that we did see is that if anybody was writing Oregon off after 2 bad weather games, that was a little premature.
Quick work of Minnesota, yes.
It was and the explosives were back. Dante Moore threw for 300 yards.
Was he 27 for 30?
27 for 30 and 306 and those are both career highs. And he set the program record for completion percentage. And think of like Justin Herbert, Dylan Gabriel, Bo Nix. Marcus Mariota, Joey Harrington, Dan Fouts. They've
Fouts.
had some really good quarterbacks come through. Dennis Dixon.
They've had some really good quarterbacks.
And Dante goes 27 for 30 with a depleted receiving core that is still without DeCorian Moore, is still without Gary Bryant Jr. And you just think of kind of some of the plays that were made by the receivers, whether it was, two incredible catches by Kenyon Sadiq, where one was the fingertips fully extended out. And then one, he had a DB draped on him. He catches it one-handed on one knee. Jeremiah McClellan with a toe drag out of the end zone. Those are, 3 catches right there that he doesn't set that record if those guys don't make those absolutely acrobatic catches. But they did. And it was a prove it game for Oregon against Minnesota, that they can put somebody away quickly. And when it's not driving rain and cold and windy, that offense is still very explosive. So that was good to see. But I think what we saw over this weekend in the Big Ten is that there's a legitimate player in USC still. Yeah. And USC handling their business against Iowa. We talked about how Oregon playing that level of physicality against an Iowa team on the road in the rain, that was okay, you can go and you can win those types of games. Whether it is at home or on the road, USC has struggled with physicality up front, and it took them a while, but they answered that call. And I still don't know how Iowa scores 21 points in the first half, but they didn't score in the second half, which is kind of what you're expecting. And that is a good sign for USC to hold on to a game like that. That is where time and time again, they've kind of rolled over and shown themselves. They didn't against Iowa. And so to win that game in the way that they did it, that sets up an incredible game where College Game Day is going to be on the campus in Eugene. And it's a 12:30 CBS kick between Oregon and SC, which is now looking like an eliminator for the college football playoff.
Yeah, and I heard all the talking heads talking about, Lincoln Riley potentially getting fired or let go at USC, and that he's not, proven what he can do. And I just find it ridiculous. I know it's a what have you done for me, not even lately, right? Like it's 30 seconds ago, what have you done for me now in athletics? But man, that dude can coach. They've just, obviously struggled defensively over the years, but they run the football really well. Mm-hmm. It's not just the explosive plays down the field throwing the ball. They run the football too. And I don't know where they are in that now, but at one point in time, they were number 1 in the country in explosive runs as well. So they are they're a complete. I think it's going to be a hell of an atmosphere too. I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
It's going to be fun. And I think that is where the world of college football we're seeing, and I've said this for a few weeks now, like winning is really hard.
It is hard. I can attest to that.
But the great teams, what they will do over the course of a football season is you hit those rough patches, you have a few games, but then it is, all right, we're going to turn it back up and we're going to kick it into another gear. And you're starting to see that across the board. So when it happens for each team is a little bit different. And what we saw is Oregon for a couple of weeks, they went through that patch of, all right, we're going through the slog of a season. All right, time to ramp it back up and peak at the right time. That Minnesota game was a great kind of indicator of, okay, refocus, charge through the final 3 games of the season. That's the final quarter of the season, and then see where you're at. For other teams, though, they're going through that, hey, winning is really hard right now. Texas A&M goes and they fall into a 27-point hole against South Carolina at home, yet they find a way to do it. And who cares if it doesn't look pretty?
Just win, baby.
Get a damn win.
That's right. Just win.
That's the only thing that matters is the win. And now Texas A&M is sitting there still undefeated. Alabama unable to hold off Oklahoma at home, right? Like that's huge for the entire landscape of college football, because now we're looking at a 2-loss cluster of teams that and this is why it's an eliminator for Oregon SC, is because if Oregon does not win that game, then what is their best win? We're still going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Right now, their 2 best wins are against Iowa and Northwestern. The Northwestern win doesn't look nearly as, much of a, I can't believe that's their best win as it once did, because they took Michigan down to the wire. Michigan finds a way to win. But Oregon, if they have 2 losses, then you have this cluster of teams where it will come down to not what your best loss is, and nobody will care that they lost close to USC or that they were tied with 6 minutes to go against Indiana. They're going to say, what was your best win? and Oregon will go down and you'll start resume comparing. Alabama is a 2-loss team. They'll have a better win. Oklahoma is a 2-loss team. They'll have a better win. Notre Dame's a 2-loss team. They'll have a better win, including USC, which they beat earlier in the year. That's where the resumes really will be defined this week, and Oregon SC is a big one on that.
You just mentioned Alabama last week. The last few weeks, everybody talking about. I mean, Alabama was in the middle of I believe, an 8-game winning streak, and talking about them as one of the best teams in the country, right? Surefire CFP, and if they lose to Auburn, which is not unheard of in that rivalry, do you think they're out? Do you think 3 losses is out? Do you think Texas is out now based on? And I know the SEC on this side of the country, we think they get that preferential treatment. What do you think about 3 losses coming from that league into the CFP?
Well, I mean, 2 things can be true in that the SEC is the best league in college football, top to bottom.
Yeah.
But also that 3 losses should not get you into the college football playoff when you have 2-loss teams, especially in the Big Ten or, in the Big 12, maybe you have that in the Big 12, but 3 losses is just that's the backbreaker, because at that point you're losing a game that you should have won. And I do think that top to bottom, the SEC is absolutely, no doubt, the best conference in college football. But you also have to take a look back and say, all right, well, one of Texas' losses is to a Big Ten team in Ohio State.
That's right.
And that should
pretty convincingly.
That should be weighted in there. And then you need to start looking at, all right, are there any other stub your toe type games that Texas should have won, and Texas should be in there? They have had their warts and they haven't looked pretty all season long. Losing to Florida, I'm sorry, like, the SEC can be the best conference in college football, but Florida is not a good team this year.
Right.
And they have not been a good team this year. And
they fired their coach in the middle of the season.
They are 3-7, 1 win is against Texas.
Yep.
You do need to say, all right, well, Oregon may have 2 losses, but it's the number 2 Indiana and then potentially another college football playoff team if they do lose another game. I don't think that's how it's going to go, but 3 losses, you can't say we're going to put in this 3-loss team over a 2-loss team, because inherently there is a loss in there that the other teams won't have.
So we're going to leave the ACC alone this week. They're going to sort themselves out here over and it's too convoluted to even think about. One of the leagues, though, the other league that we haven't talked about at all, is the Big 12. And very quietly, they've got a couple teams putting together. My old buddy, Coach Whittingham at Utah, just seems to still be able to coach. That dude knows what the hell he's doing and has figured out different ways to do it. I have such admiration and respect for that guy.
I love Kyle Whittingham
as a human being, and obviously as a leader. He's pretty remarkable. What do you see out of that league? What are the big games? What's gonna sort of shake out in that conference? We haven't really discussed them that much.
And this is the problem with the world of college football, is that
we know Colorado is not part of the conversation. Which, God, they were, but good on Dion for 2 years of keeping him in there.
That's right.
But they're not part of the conversation now.
But I mean, we go through this every year, and every conference you can point to at least one team in there that you go, that at the beginning of the year, we have these preseason polls that should probably just go away.
But what would people talk about for months leading up to the season?
But it frames people's opinions on what college football should look like without any knowing of it. At the beginning of the year, everybody said in the Big Ten, Penn State is a great football team. They dang near played for a national title a year ago. They're returning everybody. They're going to be awesome. Well, we look at that now, and they are an absolute disaster. They finally got a league win. They beat Michigan State over the weekend, but Penn State in the Big Ten. The SEC, you can point to 2 teams. South Carolina was a top 10 preseason team. They have not lived up to that by any measure.
Not even close.
Florida was a top 25 team, a top 15 team. And you go, they have not lived up to that by any measure. In the Big 12, you have Arizona State, which is that team, where they brought a ton of guys back. They had their quarterback back. Well, Sam Leavitt gets hurt. Things have kind of fallen apart for Arizona State. And that devalues the conference for some reason, because teams that we thought were going to be good with no frame of reference are not good.
And especially now with no frame of reference, right? Like
right.
The rosters just turn over so much. It's hard to see like no one saw Indiana being what they were last year, right? So
Yes.
it can change quickly.
And so, I think Joe Klatt said this to me about a decade ago, and I thought it's the best reference here is that those teams are patient zero for college football. The ones that you think are going to be good, but they don't yet. We look at them at the beginning of the year, and one of Alabama's losses this year is to Florida State at the beginning of the year. And everybody's like, Florida State is so back.
Yeah.
They suck. They're terrible.
They are bad.
And like that loss now, we sit there and we're like, that was a good loss for Alabama. At the time we said that.
Yep.
We still think that for some reason, and it's not.
Yeah.
It is that is an inexplicable, step on the rake and have it hit you in the face type game. But some teams get credit for that, and we prop up teams because like, well, hey, that's a top 25 win. No, it's not. It may have been at the time, but it's not anymore. And so we have those across college football, and that's where the landscape is. Everybody wants to talk about NIL and the transfer portal being broken. Dude, this in college football has been broken for decades, and it is the preseason poll manipulating how we all think the college football season should shake out based on preseason expectations. That's why I like the college football playoff doesn't come out until November. Is that you don't know, because we shouldn't know. We don't know what teams are good until November. Hell, we might not even know right now who the 12 best teams are in college football. What we do know is that Ohio State is really damn good. Georgia looks like they are really damn good again. Indiana and Texas A&M are both really good football teams that have had close games, but they're winning and they're undefeated right now.
Yep. So back to my question. Big 12.
Yeah.
Who's coming out of there?
No idea. No idea. No idea. Texas Tech right now looks like they are a cut above, and they have one loss, and that was without their starting quarterback against Arizona State. BYU got absolutely drubbed by this Texas Tech team. Utah is a 2-loss team that could they back their way in? Sure, but their 2 losses are to BYU and Texas Tech. So they're going to have to find their way in a conference championship game, which means Tech or BYU would have to lose one of their final 2 games. And I don't know if we see that happening. So I'm going to say Texas Tech coming out of there as a conference champ.
They're the leader in the clubhouse right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then BYU can back their way in as well. But the way that Texas Tech game played out and how decisive it was, boy, I don't know if they get the benefit of the doubt if they lose another game somewhere. If you're a 1-loss team, you should be in. You should be in the college football playoff as a 1-loss team.
All right. So this can be anything. What was the most and let's keep it to college football here. But what was the most surprising thing to you that happened over the week and leading into the weekend in college football this weekend?
I mean, I think on the surface it would be the way that Texas A&M had to win that game against South Carolina at home. But if I'm being honest, it's the police officer that bumped into Nick Harbor and the South Carolina players for some reason.
Come on, man. What are you doing?
Like that guy, I don't care. You have got to hold your stuff together more than that.
Well, credit to the local law enforcement though.
Yeah.
How they responded to that. They didn't wait around. There was no investigation. There was no, you are removed from the police force immediately.
Well, we saw, well, did he get fired or they took him out of the game and sent him home?
I heard
I don't know.
They relieved him of his duties.
Okay.
That's what it was said. And I just assumed that meant
boy,
in the short, we're going to figure out how to get you fired.
Yeah, because I don't know how much of an investigation needed to be done. A guy scores a touchdown, goes all Forrest Gump, runs up the tunnel, and it was a cool celebration that he's having with his friends. And then this police officer goes out of his way, walks up the tunnel, bumps into him, says something to him, and then follows them back out. The only reason why he went up that tunnel is to confront the South Carolina players.
Yeah, good on the teammate. I don't know the kid's name, but he should be getting a lot of credit because a young student athlete in the heat of a football game diffused that situation and said, let's get back to the sideline.
Yeah.
That kid should be getting a ton of credit. I'm going to stick with Texas A&M, but it has nothing to do with on the field. The most surprising thing to me was that Elko got a contract extension in the middle of the week and they paid him $12 million. Like, when are these athletic we hear this all the time that we're hemorrhaging money. We're talking about having to bring private equity in. How are we going to pay these kids? How are, I know I'm not going to reveal a source here, but I know that things have changed in athletic programs and how they're spending money and taking care of the people down the food chain, because everything has to be going to the student athlete and paying for them. And yet you and I talked about this early 4 or 5 weeks ago. We're at, what is it, 180 million now, maybe 200 million dollars in buyouts that we are paying coaches not to coach. And A&M does it again. And they didn't have to. Elko wasn't going to leave.
Yeah, I don't know if, and this is the world of college football where the agents just will use any leverage that they can, because this is the problem, is that, yeah, we think Elko wasn't going to leave, but then as Florida, LSU, Penn State, as they get more desperate, because what we're seeing is a lot of these coaches aren't leaving because of those massive buyouts.
Yeah.
And it's going to be harder and harder to pry those guys away. So if you have a more manageable buyout, then all of a sudden it becomes more attractive and that leverage is there. I don't think Elko was going to leave. I think he is a great fit for A&M and what they do, because of the fact that Mike Elko won at Duke and he did a really damn good job at Duke. A&M didn't go for the flashy hire.
Yeah.
They went for the guy who understands what Texas A&M is.
He could turn into Kyle Whittingham at Texas A&M, the same type of long-term coach for them.
But have billions and billions of dollars in booster money to work with. And that is where the other part of this is, these universities, the one thing, players, there's a $20 million pool of money, and then everything else is NIL. You have limited resources to keep your roster there. That doesn't apply to coaches, though. And so if you have people willing to pony up that money, they will do it. Now, Mike Elko is 10-0 this year. They are in charge of the SEC and in driver's seat right now. But a couple losses here and there, and that goodwill changes. We've seen that across college football. We've seen that at Texas A&M, for goodness sakes, with Kevin Sumlin, then Jimbo Fisher. They will change their mind just as much as they will fall in love with somebody. They'll fall out of love. But if you have billionaires that are willing to pony up that money, I think that's where it comes from right there.
I do know that's where, but the look is so bad, right?
It is.
And I'm sitting here thinking about this. They're in the middle of a CFP run, and things are going to have to go really badly for them not to get in the college football playoff. Is he really going to leave in the middle of the college football playoff?
No, he won't. All of this stuff can be done in the offseason.
It could, for him, this is an example of an athletic director, in my opinion, just panicking and saying and I'm sure the agents had something to do with this. Of course they did. And probably more along the lines of, and I think you alluded to this, but hey, recruits are hearing that my guy's going to leave. You might want to get him locked in so that we don't lose our roster, which is total bullshit. Like it's not going to happen. And he would have stayed, and hopefully he stays and they pay out the contract. Don't blame Elko at all for taking it. But the idea that some point in time, some AD is going to have to stand firm and say, we're going to wait and make you at least get through the end of the year before we do this.
Or we can negotiate it. Everything will be okay. We will announce it the day the regular season ends.
Yeah.
At that point, we can go ahead and announce it. But we all know you're not going anywhere. There's no need to make a big deal about it. Let's just finish out this regular season and win football games.
Yeah. All right. Just quick prediction. Where do you think Lane Kiffin coaches next year?
Ole Miss.
I do too.
I think he stays at Ole Miss. I think that Lane is one of the best trolls in sports.
Oh, he's awesome. Follow, man.
And I appreciate everything about his ability to troll everybody around the sport. But is there an interest with Florida? I would assume so, because it'll make it easier to recruit for Lane to be just in the backyard in a talent-rich state. Mississippi, you're not too far from a lot of talent-rich areas, but it isn't like you are in Gainesville, Florida, where you can, throw your fishing line out and get five-star recruits.
Yeah.
So is there interest? Yeah, but also Lane's not dumb, and he's been through it before.
He has been down this road.
Tennessee, USC, he's been through it all, and he knows the grass isn't always greener on the other side. He has built a top 10 football program in Oxford, Mississippi. And I think for that, there is value for him there. He can do whatever he wants there. he knows that if he goes to Florida, he won't be able to do whatever he wants to do. So that's why I think there is a level of maturity for the best troll in college sports.
He is matured. It's amazing to have watched, and it had to be pretty good to be Lane though on Saturday when Ole Miss fans and Florida fans in your stadium are chanting, "We want Lane."
Yeah.
Like they were all, it's the only thing they were in agreement on all day long is that they wanted Lane.
Yeah.
A good day to be Lane Kiffin.
And his team was trailing heading into the fourth quarter, and they pull out a win, and they get a double-digit win after trailing, what was it, 24 to
20
at
I believe.
halftime.
Yeah, it was. I watched that a lot of that game. It was a hell of a game. I've got a young football player, and I would love for my son to play for Lane Kiffin. I don't know if he's going to be good enough to play at that level, but as I watch him and kind of his maturity and what his relationship with his kids and all that, he's the kind of guy that I'd love to have my son in his program.
No doubt about it.
All right, man. Let's move to the NFL. What a weekend. The Monday night football game tonight it doesn't really matter. So we can talk about it as if it's
the
not
Cowboys
going to
Raiders
happen.
does not matter.
I may not even watch it. I don't know if I've ever just not had the Monday night football game on. I may not even come on the TV tonight.
Yeah, everybody's talking about the demise of the Kansas City Chiefs at 5-5 now.
Yeah.
The Raiders and Cowboys have combined for 5 wins. So that tells you where both of these franchises are right now. And I feel for Dallas because of everything that they're going through with Marshawn Nealon's tragic death, and that is just sad in every sense. And I do feel for the Cowboys in what they're having to go through, but the reality is they're just not good at football, and nor are the Raiders right now. So I will be allergic to that game.
Yeah, I will be too. Okay, but you brought up the Chiefs. Watched almost all of that game, and it kind of reminded me. First of all, Denver's good. And their roster is young and fast and athletic, and they are really well coached. And it kind of reminded me of an old Pride of Lions, right? Like the young lion trying to take out the old one and just scratching and clawing and not quite ready to go away yet, but it looks like it might be close. What do you think? Did it look like the changing of the guard, or is it too early to say that?
I think it is. I think it's too early just because everybody tried to write off Tom Brady and Peyton Manning for the longest time. And when you have that quarterback, you are always going to have a chance. And when you look at the rest of the Chiefs' schedule, they're sitting at 5-5 right now, and they have 7 games to play. On that schedule are the Cowboys, which we just talked about, the Texans,
who aren't good at football. You said
they're not good at football. The Raiders, who we also just talked about,
and also not good at football.
The Titans. I mean, they have 4 games that you sit there and you go, all right, winning. Those are layups.
Yep.
So there's that right there. That's a 9-win team. Okay. Then they have coin flip games where I don't think anybody would be surprised if they beat the Colts, the Chargers, or the Broncos at home. They get the Broncos and Chargers both at home in December, which that's going to be an equalizer.
So there's a very clear path to 11-6, maybe 12-5.
I wouldn't be surprised if they win out and they finish the season on a 7-game winning streak. They're 12-5, and everybody's terrified heading into the playoffs of this Kansas City Chiefs team that is probably playing wild card weekend. But do I think that they are a Super Bowl contender? No, not this year. But to write them off and say they're not a playoff team, well, I think that's a little too soon to be doing that, just looking at the schedule that they have behind them. But to the Broncos point, and oh, by the way, they are 0-5 this year in 1-score games.
Yeah. Hadn't they won like 16 or 17 in a row or something like that?
They have been absolutely outstanding in 1-score games over the last, decade with Patrick Mahomes. That you will figure that out over the course of a year, and it will level itself out. So if they turn a couple of those around, all of a sudden we don't think of this Chiefs team nearly as bad as they are. And anytime you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, you're going to have a chance to win those games. There isn't going to be this blind faith, though, like with 45 seconds to go against the Buffalo Bills, that they're going to lead. Patrick Mahomes is going to lead you down the field and score a touchdown to win the game anymore. That may be gone.
I do think, though, if you had to pick one quarterback still in that situation and one coach to do it, it might still be Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but hell, it might be Bo Nix at this point because he's doing it every single way now. 3 weeks in a row, they have held on to games at the end. 2 of them against bad teams in the Texans and the Raiders, but he finds a way in the fourth quarter just to figure it all out. He and Peyton are on the same page, and that's the thing about Bo Nix doesn't work everywhere. Bo Nix works with Sean Payton in that system because they will figure it out over the course of a 60-minute football game. And we've seen that all season long so far. And they're so close to turning a corner. But if Bo ever figures out the first 3 quarters, watch out.
Yeah, he's a grown-up too. That's one of the things, right? He's so mature, so good at the podium, and doesn't deflect criticism either, right? He just kind of takes it head on and says, "I got to be better." And I you can see the guys that he plays with, they love him too. I think there's obviously not in that building and don't know for sure, but it certainly appears that they appreciate the quarterback.
Adam Troutman, their tight end, he had an all-timer of a clip after the game yesterday where he just basically said anybody that's a doubter or hater of Bo Nix, he's shut their mouth. And I think he brought up, I think it was Dragon Slayer 69 was the username. He goes, sitting in your mom's basement drinking your Coke. You can just shut up and sit this one out because Bo Nix is really damn good.
Yeah, I don't think anybody cares inside that building what Dragon Slayer 69 thinks.
No, and nobody should anywhere what that guy thinks. But Bo Nix, being the adult, when he was 18 years old, he was cussed out by grown men because he lost football games at Auburn.
Yeah.
And that Bo Nix he's got his calluses. Yep. He's been through it. He's seen nothing that these Bronco fans are going to say or anybody in the NFL is going to be worse than what the Auburn Tiger fan base said about him before. And so I think that Bo's going to let it just roll off his back and he's going to be okay. And you see that in late games. Like, he has the ability to just flush anything because he's seen the worst of it. And he's been called the worst names before. It doesn't matter. Bo's just looking for the next play. And you saw in that final drive, he was all of those throws that he can't make. He finds a way to make them on the final drive.
It's pretty remarkable. Another young guy that I've been rooting for in a big way, that watched a lot of college football that he played, Caleb Williams in Chicago. And I think we should, for 2 reasons. Number one, it's a great story. Number 2, it's Jason Cardona, our producer's favorite football team. So we should probably chat about it. The seeing his growth and it's so crazy what happens to these young guys, right? What's Caleb, 24, 23, 24, and just being written off and told that you suck after being so good for so long. And his numbers aren't great, but he finally has gotten himself an offensive coach, a guy that is, the 2 of them are a little bit different in how they see the game. But if those 2 guys can get it figured out and mesh that, you have something pretty scary with Caleb's talent.
Well, Ben Johnson is an incredible play caller and a great offensive coach. And this is where how many times do we write off quarterbacks and leave them for dead way too early? Yeah. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, those guys are all pretty good. People tried to do it to Josh Allen even at the beginning of his career. And we sit there and we're like, Bob, I know he's a bum already, because you want to be right. Well, people are so wrong on a lot of these guys. What happened was Chicago took inventory and said, okay, Matt Eberflus is not a good head coach. You bring in the best offensive coach that can help Caleb Williams in his growth and his development, and a guy who, if you get a great coordinator, he's going to be gone quickly because he will be the next hire as a head coach. They went and they got Ben Johnson. They made it.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
Because I just said it with Bo Nix and Sean Payton. Bo Nix doesn't work everywhere. Yeah. He works with Sean Payton.
What you just said was a great point. Having that head coach be your offensive guru in the building, to be able to not have to have that flux of offensive coordinators, it doesn't hurt as bad when that OC leaves.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And then the Bears went and they said, shit, our offensive line's not very good. That probably is a reason why our quarterback is struggling right now. So, I don't know. You look at the 2 young quarterbacks that are quote unquote playing well. Caleb Williams in Chicago, Bo Nix in Denver. They are the young quarterbacks that have good offensive lines. If you're drafting high, it's because your team is terrible.
That's right.
And so it will inherently take time to get the pieces around him. I really appreciate what Chicago has done with last year. They said, we're going to try and get the weapons. This year, they tried to get the offensive line and the play caller in. They got both of those things. The Bears look like they have staying power.
Yep.
It is wild to see a team that is 7-3 that has a negative point differential on the season.
Yeah.
That's a little scary. But when you look at the fact that, I don't know, they lost by 30 in week 2, that'll probably do it to you. They're winning on the margins. It'll take time for any young quarterback to grow. So be patient with it. And right now they position themselves to be at the top of one of, if not the best division in football, because you still have Green Bay. Detroit is still really good and going through some warts of their own. And then Minnesota at 4-6, they can sneak up and beat anybody on any given day. And so that division is tough top to bottom, and they're at the top of it right now in year 2 with Caleb Williams. I'd be thrilled if I'm a Bears fan.
Oh yeah, I think they're going to be good for a decade, and they haven't had a really good quarterback since Jim McMahon, and he was more of a linebacker playing quarterback and just fit that team and that mantra that they played with in that time. They haven't had a true like superstar quarterback since
ever.
Yeah,
I mean, they've never had a 3,000-yard passer in a season
ever,
or 4,000. Yeah, ever in the history of the Chicago Bears, which is a very, very old franchise in the National Football League. They have not had it. I think it's Sid Luckman has the most passing yards in a season for the Bears.
Wow, that's a punchline.
I mean, I don't know if you have run into this. I haven't run into anybody under the age of 70 named Sid. So that is a very long time. You know?
No, you're right. You're right. I think, and it's great. And I think it would be great for the NFL to have, the Bears back to being, they were, when I was a kid, I was a Dan Marino fan growing up, and watching them destroy him in the Super Bowl was painful for me. But just having them be good and what and how they impact the league is going to be good for the league.
Eric Kramer, all-time single-season leader in passing yards in Bears history, 3,838.
I don't think that record's safe. I think that's gonna, at some point in time, I think Caleb's gonna get that figured out, and I think you're gonna see that get him.
And that was
smashed.
1995. That was 30 years ago.
I was 21.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
That is a long time ago.
Holy smokes.
Well, a lot of good stuff coming in the NFL. We'll talk more about it next week. I think the playoffs they're not around the corner, but we're starting to see the kind of the good and the bad shake itself out by this middle of the season. The pretenders are you can tell who those are, and we'll talk more about it as the season progresses. All right, basketball season started, and I
before Christmas Day.
Yeah, I am obviously a basketball guy with a lot of basketball history and love the game, and I think it's an amazing game. I loved every minute of the time that I spent in it. I can't watch the NBA. I turned it on last night and tried to watch the Blazers, and I want them to be good. I live here in the Portland metro area, and it is so great for the city when they are thriving. Around the country. I think it's great in all those markets to have good NBA teams. It is hard, Dusty. It is hard to watch.
Yeah, you're not alone.
I don't like, and I don't know what the fix is. I know, I think college basketball is getting back to being much more watchable. I think the immediacy, and obviously football's got this figured out, right? You only have 17 regular season games, and college football even less. So you have this urgency about each game. Man, watching guys, and I hate to say they're not playing hard, because that's an indictment on people's character. I don't know how you play hard for 82 games.
Well, you can't.
It's not possible.
And this is the problem that the NBA has, and Major League Baseball has this problem too, is that you can't shorten your season because financially, how much is tied to the amount of inventory that comes to the television networks because of just the sheer number of games. The NFL they have this sweet spot where it's like, we started with 14 regular season games. We moved to 16. Now we're at 17. There will never be oh my gosh, the season is too long. We talk about this in the world of college football, where it's like, boy, regular season's really going to be devalued. We spent 20 minutes talking about how the final 2 weeks of the season mean so damn much in the world of college football.
That's right.
The NFL is the same way, where it's like, oh man, that 17th regular season game, having 14 teams in the playoffs, really going to devalue it. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is, they create this sense of urgency based on how many games they have, because 82 is way too many. And there's a runway though where there should be a sweet spot of how many games in a season can allow you to work through some of your kinks, develop and grow as a team, but still have the regular season mean a lot. And for me, I think that in the NBA, the most fun years are like the lockout shortened seasons.
Yeah.
Where there's like 52 games.
Yeah.
There's 60 games. And you can lop off 24 games from your regular season. And all of a sudden, that sense of urgency is created where you can't just say, yeah, we'll figure this out in February.
Yeah.
Like right now, that's where the NBA is. We'll figure it out in December. We'll figure it out in January. We'll figure it out in February. It'll be fun. How many times have we seen a team like, locally, the Portland Trailblazers, be completely out of a playoff race, and then the last month of the season they go on a run where they can't lose, and you go, oh, they're the 6th seed. Okay. That sense of urgency, if you can create that and manufacture it, they're trying to do it with the in-season tournament. It really doesn't matter.
No, it hasn't. It has not moved the needle in any measurable way. And just the and I love the game. I love coaching the guy. I love playing the game first. I love coaching the game. I love teaching it, and I always have enjoyed watching it. I never really got into watching the NBA because I was so busy coaching my own team, so I didn't watch it. And I always heard, it's hard to watch and all those things. I can't watch it right now. And I'm your audience, right? Like it is a very difficult proposition to sit down and watch a full NBA game. And I'm hopeful that they can figure something out, because you need kids to be interested in it to keep the game alive.
And there's a couple of things that the NBA has done, and there's a couple of fixes that people think will help it. But one thing is the NBA has become a social media league where they almost don't want you to watch the games. They want you to watch the packaged highlights on TikTok and Instagram.
That's what my 15-year-old son does.
And they've done a really good job of that, because in a 48-minute game where guys are sleepwalking through 36 minutes of it, you're sitting there and you're like, there's not much to watch here. But they can get you a 45-second highlight package of the best 45 seconds of a 48-minute game. And that's kind of what they push out. And they say, LaMelo Ball is a great example of this. I don't trust LaMelo Ball to lead my franchise, but you know what? People love him because he puts highlights on every single game that he plays in the games that he does play, because he's injured often. But to make it a game where people want to watch the actual whole thing, and that's the great part about the NFL, people need to watch the whole game. That is a harder mountain to climb, because the NBA may have taken Pandora out of the box or opened Pandora's box, and you can't put whatever comes out back into it. There's also this idea that if the NBA expands to 32 teams, that will make the playing field a little bit more level. I disagree with that wholeheartedly, because you don't have 30 stars in the league right now. And you add 2 teams, what you're going to do is you're going to dilute the product even more. I don't think expansion fixes it, because then they're saying, well, you're going to spread out more talent. You're already doing that with the new CBA, making it prohibitive to have 3 stars on one team. I think that hurt the NBA a ton.
I agree.
Is when super teams were created. Well, they've tried to fight back against that. And now that it still isn't a product that is great to watch, because yeah, there's certainly a ton of great players across the world, but go ahead and watch the Washington Wizards play basketball, and you tell me if you add another team, the product's going to get better, because that team is not good. The New Orleans Pelicans, watch that team play and tell me that the product will get better if you take some of their guys and you put them on another team, because that's what will happen. Yeah. I don't think that's going to make the league better.
No one's taking my ideas, but what I think they should do is take the first 24 games of the season and have that be what they do with Summer League. and have your young guys working to get better leading up to the season, and then you play a 50 game season or 52 game season and have up to Christmas be your basically your summer league. Then your older guys come in, you complete your roster, and then you go on and play the rest of the year. But that's not something that's going to happen.
Well, if you want the beginning of the season to mean more, maybe the fix of the in-season tournament isn't to pay guys more money, which like everybody getting like $1 million or whatever it is for winning the in-season tournament. I don't think fans really care that the millionaires are getting another $1 million.
No, they don't.
But if you sit there and you say, all right, we know half the league is sleepwalking through the front half of the season anyway. We're going to guarantee a playoff spot if you win the in-season tournament. We're going to take a team from the East and a team from the West, and if you win, you get a playoff spot on the line in your respective conference. Does that make the beginning of the season that much more? Because, look, what's going to happen is teams either going to sleepwalk through the first half of the season, or they're going to sleepwalk through the second half of the season. You're going to be sleepwalking somewhere because it's 82 games and you can't play hard all 82.
That's right.
So maybe that is a fix. I don't know. I don't think there's an easy one for the NBA right now, though.
Yeah, I just don't think I'm going to watch it till springtime. Like I should be. It's basketball season, and I'm going to watch a bunch of college basketball here over the next couple of weeks. But I'm not super excited about watching the NBA.
The product of college basketball is getting better, and I think that is going to help not in the immediate future, but 5-10 years down the road.
It's going to help the NBA.
That's going to help the NBA. College basketball is getting exponentially better play and easier to watch as guys aren't leaving after 1 year to chase money. Now you're going to have guys stick around, actually develop and grow their game,
and develop a brand, right? So that when they leave college basketball, I can turn on the TV and I can know who I'm watching.
Yeah.
Right?
Cooper Flagg, he's going to leave no matter what.
That's right. That guy's leaving.
But the guy who's like, he left, he's going to the NBA.
Yeah, that's not happening.
That's not going to happen anymore.
He's going to make more money in college basketball.
That'll be better for college and better for the NBA.
100%. All right, man. Good stuff today. What is the question of the week? What do you got for me today?
I ran into this because I am a be quiet parent at every game.
Yes.
And I mentioned at the beginning of this, my daughter's playing in a state soccer tournament right now, and I find myself having a ton of nervous energy. Right, like you just sit there and you're like, why? What? I don't get it. What team that you watch makes you the most anxious and nervous? Because right now it's my 11-year-old daughter.
Yeah. So this is such an easy question. Every team that one of my kids plays on.
Yeah.
I never got nervous one time as a player. And then I had butterflies as a coach, but I wouldn't call it nerves, right? It's anxiety about, did I prepare correctly? Like, and as soon as the game's, I'm good. The entire time my daughter was playing high school basketball, every game, and the entire time my son's playing football and running track, and even when he's not going to play basketball this winter, but the nerves are horrible, and there is nothing to do with them except sit there and be quiet. Like, and I my wife and I are the same as you. We want to be the quiet parents. I do a podcast about youth sports and the do's and the don'ts. So you better practice what you preach. So my wife has figured out that if she videotapes every play of a football game, she doesn't talk because she doesn't want to hear herself on the video. She doesn't use it for anything. We don't post it. It's her ability to keep herself quiet. And then I go sit by myself. And I just sit there and I try not to talk or just cheer for the other kids on the team. Like it's the hardest thing as a parent.
Yeah.
I don't have any good advice for you either.
No.
Like but you gotta, it's I think the saying from Gladiator, every once in a while I do what I want, but I almost always do what I have to.
Yeah.
That's what it is as a parent, right? You just have to keep your mouth shut and nothing but positive energy can come out of your mouth.
And that's the thing is that, like, whether it was playing or coaching, for any game, I would never like when my favorite teams were playing in championship games, like it was never too high or never too low, because there's something that I could control when you're playing or you're coaching,
Yeah.
right? And so when you have that element of control, you're like, okay. If my favorite team loses a game in crippling fashion, I can get over that really quickly. But you sit there, it's a little bit different when you're watching your kid and you're like, oh, golly, like
Yeah.
it hits you a little bit different because you can't control that. And what you want is the best for your
That's
child,
right.
their teammates, and all of their friends. And so you're sitting there and it's just a nervous energy that you can't really control. And so it's weird for me. It's a weird position because I'm usually just indifferent either
Yeah.
way.
Oh, it's really hard. Wait till one of them gets hurt. So my son got knocked out cold in a game this year and then ended up missing the next one. He got lucky. He had a concussion, but wasn't too long lasting of effects. The next time he played was the worst day of my life waiting for that game. It's freshman football, right? But you see, he was on the field for 7-8 minutes and out cold and for not for that long, but out cold for quite some time. So it's this anxiety is apparent. It's just hard to describe until you go through it.
Yeah.
Here's though, since we are bringing this up, here's advice for everybody that I'm going to say this again, but no matter what happens in the game, win or lose, what your kid wants to hear you at the end of the game say, no matter what happens with your energy, is you tell them that you love them and you love watching them play.
That's right.
That discussing their performance and their coaches and all that stuff, let that go. Love them, care about them, tell them you love watching them compete and move on to the next thing.
That's right. Then that is never talk about a negative of a game.
No.
And just say you're happy for them and how they played.
Yep.
Be win or lose, because that's the thing that'll keep them coming back and making sports enjoyable. So many kids get beat down by the fact that there's expectations heaped upon them. And the biggest thing is that no child should have an expectation on them playing a sport.
No, except to learn. It's the best classroom for life, right? Like
Yep.
should be the best classroom for life, learning all of those lessons that come from playing sports and have it be an amazing experience that teaches them so many things they can't get in a classroom.
Yeah. It teaches you humility, respect, and then what it takes to win at life.
That's right. All right, man. Well, great stuff today. Good job. You have a future in this business if you decide you want to dive in. Oh wait,
I'll keep it going.
You have a past. That's what a long past. Appreciate you doing it, man. We will talk to you again next week.
All right, let's do it.